Name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, we salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to your program, The Modern Family, from me, Hatem Al-Absalam, and Dr. Wael Harrasi. And before we start today's program, we would like to say that unfortunately our guest cannot make it today because he is not feeling well. We ask Almighty Allah to grant him fast recovery, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen.
How are you, Dr. Wael, today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
So today I'm stuck with you. It's just me and you.
Well, unfortunately, yes, for you. But fortunately for me, I like your company. So it's good for me.
You don't want to invalidate your fast, Dr. Wael. So I hope you're saying the truth.
I need to be really, courteous now until after Maghrib.
So how's things?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Today we have a very good topic, a very important topic. And this is not only because we don't have a guest we want people to call, but also because the topic is a very dynamic one and we require a lot of input from people as well. It's about reading and how to raise a generation of reading. It is something that we don't do very often, generally as a nation, and we need to do more of. Reading is very important in our lives, and we would like to hear from parents' experiences on reading. What sort of concerns they have, how did they tackle their concerns, how did they overcome not being or having children who do not read and turn them into success stories who become well-read children.
Dr. Wael, some people might think, why is this topic so important? Why are we emphasizing on reading? And while now maybe there's different means to gain knowledge, not very necessarily that you should read. So why are we emphasizing that?
Absolutely,
topic?
There are many ways where people could learn, but the number one method of acquiring knowledge is still reading. Even if you consider Google search or internet reading, that's still a type of reading. It depends how you read and what you read.
Yeah.
So reading is still the dominant way of acquiring knowledge. TV is one, but that's still you could debate whether it is suitable as a mean of acquiring knowledge, a main mean of acquiring knowledge, because TV has a lot of distractions, and TV is also another mean for marketing. Yeah. And it's a mean of delivering any type of information, and it's an open media for anyone to put anything in it. So you might be enjoying something on TV and you want to learn from it. However, that episode of learning would be interrupted by adverts, and I see these as distractions.
There's a group of people who claim to say that when learning becomes enjoyable, like through the TV, where
Yes.
it is colorful, it is graphic, it is very interesting, it is changeable, then it becomes easier to observe the information rather than just reading an old book with no any incentive.
There is a counter argument for all of those, and I'm sure there are people who would also believe to the contrary of that. That's why it is very important that we open the field for our listeners today to call and voice out their opinions on reading. For that, we call you, dear listeners, to call us on our number 24602058. That's 24602058. Our guest today is Hatem Al-Abdussalam. Well, you've asked the question, why is reading important? Now, there are very various answers to those. And one of the most obvious ones is that you expose yourself to new things when you read a book. With every page you turn, you learn something new. Yeah, there are different types of books. There are different sciences written in books. So if you hold a book, any random book, and you just open it, there is something inevitably for you to learn about in that book. So it's a way of widening your horizons, reading a book.
I like the saying that says that when you read a book, it's like you're traveling the whole world, because everything is between your hands, and you can learn about cultures, nations, sciences, and countries, and different things.
You could, reading is an adventure. If you read and explore, people even use the word explore when talking about reading books, and it's about exposure as well. And that's adventure. What's all about is about exploration and exposure. When you open a book, you might even one day open a random book and be exposed to a piece of information. That piece of information would be so vital for you that you might even want to pursue a career out of it. Yeah. So that is number one, is exposure and adventure in a book. Secondly, it's about self-improvement. The more you read, the more you learn. And it is a way of improving yourself. If you stay stagnant, it's like water. Yeah. Stagnant water will inevitably be foul. And that's exactly the way we could become.
When you said exploration and adventure, you remind me of something that happened a few years back, almost 7 years back. I went through a journey through the African continent, and through that journey, I've written my notes and I combined it into a book.
MashaAllah.
And when I came back,
you never gave me that book.
Well, you have to pay for it. It's not for free.
That's what you call friends these days. Okay.
So when I went back to work, my friends told me, okay, what happened in your journey? Let us know. Show us the pictures. And I told them that I'll give you something which is better than the pictures. And I gave them a copy of the book to read it.
Yeah, I read it hundreds of times already.
So one of my friends was Jordanian. And he took 3 days and he read the book. And then after 3 days, I went to his office and he was Googling the map of Africa. And I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to buy a land in Africa. I said, why? He said, you made me live the adventure in Africa, and you made me really want, to explore this continent. And I want to go and I want to build a house there. And I said, well, don't believe everything what is written.
He couldn't learn about Africa from just watching Lion King, but it's different. Reading a book is always different, and as I said, it's a way of self-improvement as well.
Yeah.
By learning new stuff every time, you tend to improve upon your knowledge. You might have several concepts to add to your already existing database of knowledge. Sometimes you might have some misconceptions, and through reading books and reading other people's opinions, you tend to refine your knowledge and improve. I
really admire the people who, they read in everything, and they have a wide range of knowledge. When you talk to them about any subject, they have the background, the knowledge of that topic. And I remember having one of my friends who was a young man at that time. He was not even married, and I asked him, where do you live? And he said, I live with my sister. Okay, and I have a very small room, and my room doesn't have any furniture. It just has a sofa and a mattress for me to sleep.
Yeah.
And I said, how can you live in a room like that? He said, I have a goal. And I said, what is your goal? And he said, my goal is to become an encyclopedia after 5 years. Once I leave work, I am at home, I only read until the time I go to sleep. So I fill my mind with information, and I want after 5 years to be an encyclopedia of information. And mashallah, I met him after 3 years almost, and he jumped grades at work, and he became senior management, not because of his qualification, because of the knowledge that he had in different areas, and he is progressing. And I told him, Ahmed, I think you won't become an encyclopedia. Now you're a slave of this company. He said, now I don't have time to read because I'm stuck at work.
Subhanallah.
But he said, I still have that vision that one day I'm going to become an encyclopedia. So people like my friend Ahmed, they are an inspiration.
Yes.
And they show us that how much knowledge can raise your status
just by reading.
Just by reading.
Yeah,
just by reading.
See, reading is a good thing, and books are the quietest and the most constant of friends. So I'm sure that Ahmed has made friendship with his books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the most quietest and most constant of friends. They are the most accessible and the wisest of counselors. You could seek counsel in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have any worries, you could open up a book and read about solutions to the problems you have. And the most patient of teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It will never answer back to you.
And I think
it will always teach you something.
I think you agree with me, Dr. Weil, that there are many out there like Ahmed. Some of them have not even finished high school, but the amount of knowledge and information that they have, they are much, much more qualified than the people who are university graduates.
Yeah.
And this shows the dedication they gave for seeking knowledge, and the amount of information that they have.
Yes, yes.
And to be able to utilize, because some people might have the information, but they don't know how to utilize that information.
Yeah. Reading is also very important whenever you take action. And that's what you might be referring to, is you don't know what to do with information. But I think if you look at it from another way, that if you wanted to take action in anything, you can't go and take action blindly.
Yeah.
But if you read, if you educate yourself and be prepared by enough ammunition and enough knowledge, you will be able to take the right steps and take the right action. And this is what we need to teach our children. They're so dependent on us because they read very little. If we teach them to read more, you would be amazed by how much they absorb from that knowledge. And they come to you with independent knowledge. Sometimes they come and ask you questions, and it's children. They're very curious. They like to ask questions. However, once you introduce the world of books to them, then they will go and read. And rather than just asking, the conversation will be totally different. They will start asking you, do you know about spiders? Do you know how many types of spiders? So they are coming to tell you about what they have read. And now they are in a higher level where they can actually share rather than be receivers only.
You remind me of a story about my daughter.
You're full of stories, Hatem.
You want us to
do
the show? Life? You don't want us to do the show. The first week of Ramadan, my daughter started, becoming interested in the stories of the Quran.
Yes.
And she started reading the books that we have at home. And she was learning about the story of the people of Saturday, Ahlus Sabt.
Ahlus Sabt.
Yes. And we went for iftar at my sister's house, and the kids were sitting on one side and we adults are sitting on the other side. And then we overheard, my brother overheard my daughter.
Yeah.
She was asking her cousins, do you know the story of Ahlus Sabt? And they said, no, we don't know. And he said, oh, you don't know the story? Then I'll tell you the story. And and my elder brother, started teasing me. He said, Hatem, okay, we know your daughter is smart, but she doesn't have to brag in front of her cousins that she knows. And this shows that children, when they have something, they want to share with others, and they are proud of what they know. And information just flows automatically.
Yes. It's when you see children who read and how they interact, you really want to do more. Yeah, because you could see the results immediately. And the difference between a child that reads and a child that doesn't read. A child that reads gains experience, and he learns or she learns. And not only children, but all of us, we tend to gain experiences from others. We learn from other people's experience. And when we encounter a new situation in our lives where we don't know anything about, it's quite daunting and difficult, and sometimes we improvise and make decisions, uncalculated decisions.
Yes.
However, when you have read something and you have came across an experience of that particular situation with someone, you tend to use it. Yeah, you go there ready, and at least you have something to contribute in that situation, or how to deal with that situation. People say the art of reading is in great part that of acquiring a better understanding of life from one's encounter within it in a book. Yeah,
I really admire writers, and I feel that they have left us an inheritance for humanity.
Yeah.
Because whatever experiences they went through, whatever emotions and feelings they went through, they are sharing it with us, and we are getting it easily. You know,
Yes.
we did not have to go through the difficulty that they went through, but they still want to share this experience with us and give us the information.
But still, you
easily.
go through the emotion of that adventure if
Yeah.
you read it. When you read exactly with your story with your Jordanian friend,
Yeah.
he went through the emotions
Yeah.
of reading. We have a call.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Dr. Wael, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you? I think this is my best friend Yahya.
Indeed.
MashaAllah, Yahya, how are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Listen, Yahya, it's I know you like vacations, but please, we miss you at work.
I'm trying to enjoy myself with the leave now.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. By the way, Yahya is one of the great lovers of books, and he's renowned amongst his friends with his great library.
MashaAllah.
And just being with Yahya is a pleasure, and you can see that this is a person who actually reads.
MashaAllah.
Yeah? So I wish that one day I could be like Yahya.
I really feel flattered, Dr. Wael.
No, this is the truth.
Yeah, the subject is very interesting today, and I wanted to just share with you some ideas that I'm using with my own children.
MashaAllah, great.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I'm not getting the results I'm wishing for, but they're working.
Inshallah. Progress. It's work in progress. Inshallah. You will see the results.
You will
inshallah.
harvest the fruits soon, inshallah.
Inshallah, Hatim. Well, to encourage children to read is, it's a difficult mission, and it needs a lot of thinking and a lot of planning.
Yeah.
And when I say planning, it means you have to plan for it before you actually get the children.
MashaAllah.
Because it's something that grows with them. How to encourage a child at the age of 5 to read is different from how to do the same thing for a child who is 15 years old.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, and if I would share with you my experience with that, it all started with when I decided to build my own house.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I insisted on including in my new house was a library.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. There should be a library, and it should be known as a library, and should be used only as a library, nothing else.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and in that library, I provided all the books that I could. And by the way, one of the challenges that we face, in our Oman or in the Arabic world,
Yes.
is there's a lack of books that are written for certain age groups. Most of the books, they are written for adults.
Correct. And this is a point that we have discussed with Hatim. Hazim raised this issue of lack of Arabic books. But last time when I went this year, when I went to the book fair, I saw a lot of Arabic books, and there are a lot of improvements in the world of books and writing books for children. We are still not there yet, but I think we are on the right track, and we are moving forward slowly.
Okay, I should have talked to you then in the last book fair, because I searched for such books and I couldn't find any.
Maybe it's the children's age group, Yahya. My children are very little, so the books I was looking for are suited to their age. very young and very few words.
And this year, what they did is they distinguished the tent for the children.
There was a whole tent
tent for the children.
Yes, yes.
Very good, very good. But I'm referring to, historical books and
yes,
Islamic books.
Yes.
One of the things that I feel are not good for children, most of the books that are intended to children are all stories. And
I agree with you.
It's good to read those, but they're not as educative as other kind of books.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you search for history books about Omani history targeting children, you wouldn't find that. Yeah.
Yes.
If you look for history, if I want to teach my child the history of Mecca, for example, the history of Kaaba, yeah, it is the first house ever being built, and I want to teach my child about the history of Kaaba, I wouldn't find anything on the market. There isn't anything that is suited for, let's say, a 10-year-old to read about.
Dr. Weil, I may share also some of the other experiences I have, and to encourage my children to read. Whenever we gather for lunch or dinner, I start asking them questions.
Okay.
And whenever they don't have an answer, I would ask them to refer to one of the books in the library to search for the answer.
Okay. That's a very good strategy. So you also tell them which book, so you make it easier for them.
I do sometimes, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I would just tell them you'll find them in historic books, or you'll find them in geography books, or whatever subject.
MashaAllah. I have a question. I would like to question you about your library. And this is something that we would like to share with our listeners. Is your library in an open area in the house? Or is it in a closed room? Is it a room that is closed? Or is it in an open area? Because if you look at European style, you always see the living area is where the library is, in many cases, yeah? And not necessarily, but in many cases, the living area, rather than being decorated with vases and decorated with, I don't know what.
Flat screens.
Yeah? Flat screens. You would see the main feature in the house, in the living area, is actually the library. So do you also, that's one question. Secondly, do you differentiate between your own library and the children's library? Or is it one big library for the whole family?
If I may comment before you, Yahya.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the time, Dr. Weil, we build our houses not having the concept that we'll have a library.
Yes.
And then after moving in, then we decide to have a library, and then it becomes
shove it in a corner.
Shove it anywhere. Yeah, but it's not there in the initial plan of the house to have a library. Most of the people, that's what they do, I think.
Yeah. So yes, Yahya?
Okay, to answer your first question, it's a room, it's a separate room, but it's open all the time. And I understand the point of having it in a living room. So what myself and my children's mother, we decided that all their activities will be done inside the library.
Okay.
So whenever we sit, not watching the TV or anything, we sit in the library. They do their homeworks in the library. Even they play in the library.
Okay.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
So that's for the first question.
Yes.
And about having my own library and a different library for the children, I didn't start to do that until recently, when I felt that the children, if they have the feeling of owning something, they will honor it and be proud of it more. So what I started doing is I would present to them some books. I would buy gifts for them as books, write their names on it, decorate it for them, and then tell them this is your own library, and I assign a shelf in the library or in their bedroom as their own library.
MashaAllah, that's a very good idea. So you have individual libraries as well for every single child. A mini library, let's say.
Sometimes you face difficulty with the children not keeping well of their own books or
tell me about it.
but
Yeah.
it works slowly.
Yeah, yeah. You know, having the idea of although initially I said it's a European style. If you remember, Yahya, we have a sabla in every house. You have a sabla, and in the sabla, it's where the men would be, and the library normally would be there.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it has always been an integral part of the Omani household. However, modernity has changed things, and we sort of deviated from that. And although some households still have a mini library in their houses, but it just gathers dust. It became a cultural thing. It's a tradition rather than a dynamic thing within the house that is being utilized all the time. Thank you very much, Yahya. Thank you very much for your call. We really appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much for this interesting subject today.
You're welcome. Shukran.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. So there you go, a very interesting experience. And I would like to reiterate again that you need to build, when you build your house, dedicate a place for a library. Yeah, design it so it's a comfortable place to sit in. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll end up with an area that is not suitable to read. It's just a place where you store books, and it becomes a store. Yeah?
I think what happens, Dr. Weil, is that there's two categories of people. The first category is that they love reading from an early age, since school, for example.
Yeah.
And the second category is that the people who don't like reading, and then after they get married, they develop and they develop the interest for reading. So at that time they've already had children, and the house is already built maybe. So and then you have the interest to read books, and then you buy a shelf first, and you stack a pile of books there, and then you read first, and then you introduce this idea to your wife to be interested, and then you introduce it to the children. So I think if you have the interest of reading from an early age of your life, then it becomes part of, Yahya said, thinking and planning before having the children. And
so that's what
there are very few people who really, love reading to that extent that they will plan in their houses to have a
One, it's
library.
about love, Hatem, and secondly, it's about understanding the importance of it. Yeah. Nations have understood the importance of reading.
Yeah.
And it's not only about loving it and feeling comfortable. It's about feeling the importance of it and the consequences of not being able to read. Yeah. A nation that reads, a nation that leads. Yeah. Or a person who reading today will be leading tomorrow.
Yes.
You can't have a leader who can't read or don't read. Yeah. So reading is a very powerful tool. It is a tool that you also use to strengthen your brain. You can connect, because when reading, you are in full silence, because reading connects directly onto your brain. In silence, you seek for more. In silence, your brain is clear and focuses. So you learn and grow, and therefore you feel and see the point of view of the author or everything else in life.
I think Yahya also brought up a very important point, is the lack of books for certain ages in Arabic.
Yeah.
And also he spoke about books of history related to children.
Yeah, that's one example.
And I think it's very, very true. Normally when you go to the market, you find storybooks, or you find books which are teaching numbers and letters and and colors, and you don't find anything like scientific or something historical or something to do with countries that suits the age group of your children.
I disagree, because although there is lack of certain books which mention, but when you come to science, there are a lot of books, because there are those books which has been translated. This year when I went to I went several times to the book fair, and several times with my children as well. Every time we go there, we tend to target something, and we bought a lot of scientific books. Some of them are dedicated, a whole series of books about scientists and inventors. It is something that is very close to the hearts of my children. They like to, and probably any children would like to explore more and learn about inventions and the story behind the inventions.
Yes.
Yeah, we have books for younger age, let's say 4, which has models in them, which talks about the anatomy, for example, of animals. And inside the book, you would have 3D models of the bone structure or the muscle structure. And I found it really interesting. And I bought a lot of these types of books for all my children.
So maybe it's just you should look harder, you should look more,
exactly.
Spend more time, maybe go once or twice or thrice to the
and you know,
book fair.
If you don't find it in Oman, you always can go abroad. It's never an excuse that you can't find anything here. I take my children to Abu Dhabi, to Jarir bookstore, because there I can find books in Arabic for them. Yeah, we made it a very special trip where I took my children specifically to go and head to the bookshop, so they could buy their own books, search and spend the whole day there and read. Yeah,
I think Yahya brought up also another good example, where to make it interesting for the children to go and read, and challenging, where he asks them questions when they're having dinner or lunch, and then he requires them to go and find out the answer from the library, from a book. Yes. Most of the time we make it sound like it's a punishment for our children to sit and read. We want them to sit on the sofa in a alone, and we want you to read a certain number of pages, and come back and report to me, what did you understand?
Quantity and not quality.
Yeah, and it's not. I think it should be together. I think when the father is reading and the mother's reading and the child is holding a book as well, reading, and they're sharing the stories and discussing the issues, it becomes fun. Or even to have it in an open area like the park or somewhere else.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And this is something we'll talk about more after the break. Okay. Dear listeners, we'll take a very short break. In this break, we'll play a clip. It's an interview with a nursery teacher, and she talks about how to teach children from a very young age to read. Some techniques that I found very, very useful. So you could call us after the break and share your own experiences. But now we'll take a very short break and listen to this clip. It's really good. So stay tuned, and we'll see you after the break.
The Modern Family. The
Modern Family.
We often hear it's so important to read to our kids, but the big question is, how young should you start, and how do you do it? We brought in the experts from Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. Erica, what's some of your recommendations? At what age should we start reading to our children?
As soon as they're born. There's a lot of books out there that are geared and meant for children from birth on. So
let's take a look at some of those books. How do you find the right one?
Well, there's lots of, I always say durability for especially the little ones, especially when they start teething. There are lots of books out there that are nice, made of plastic. You can bring them in the bath.
Wash them off.
They get sticky, food on them.
Nice.
Other books for little ones are the nice black and white picture books. So as their vision is still developing, they can focus on just the single pictures on a page, the nice black and white.
How would you recommend a mom read that to her child?
You don't always have to read just the words on the pages. Go ahead and make the animal noises, count the pictures with them, so you can bring in a bunch of different skills that they will be developing and learning, not just reading word for word on the page.
Do you think it's important we read to our kids even before they speak?
Oh, definitely, because reading to your child is going to enhance their pre-speech skills, learning new words, learning letters, word recognition, counting, all that
So
sort of
definitely start
Definitely.
as a baby. Okay, now we move up. Let's say we've got a rambunctious 2-year-old who doesn't seem too interested in books. Do we still need to make that a priority?
Definitely. It would be nice, too, to get them in a routine of doing a book before bed. So making that part of your daily routine, getting a nice one-on-one time with your child. There's lots of books out there that are very interactive, that the child can actually manipulate and play, turn the pages. There's familiar nursery rhymes and songs that they can help sing along with.
I think sometimes as parents we're embarrassed to be singing Old MacDonald out loud and people would be like, I don't have a good voice or whatever? Kids don't care, do they?
They don't care. They love it, and they can sing along with you. Again, repetition is always good for them. They're familiar songs and nursery rhymes.
And what about as the kids get a little older? Once they go to school, is it important to still read at home, or should we let school take care of that?
No, definitely bring it home. I talk to this your child's teacher and get a feel for what reading level they're at, because the reading level may not always be the same as their actual grade level or age. So there's lots of books out there that have different humor to keep them interested, mysteries.
Get them hooked on a series, whether it's Captain Underpants or Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Erica. Helen
Thank
DeVos
you.
Children's Hospital really does have something to help families at every point of the journey.
Definitely.
Thank you.
The Modern Family.
Dear listeners, welcome back to The Modern Family, and today we are talking about raising a reading generation. We would like to encourage our children to read more. How to do it? This is what we would like to share with you and as well learn from you. Reading is one of the oldest habits on earth. People have been reading for many years, for centuries and even more.
Yeah.
And people have always loved reading, and there are a lot of quotes on reading. Here you say, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. Some say reading is dreaming with open eyes, and some say the more you read, the more things you will know, the more you learn, and the more places you will go. Some people even go and say, I could spend the rest of my life reading, just satisfying my curiosity, because you can hardly mention anything I'm not curious about. Who said this? Malcolm X.
MashaAllah.
Yeah. And I mean, there are a lot of quotes. We read to know we are not alone. Yeah. And someone said, a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. Because, as we mentioned earlier, you live through the experiences of others,
Yes.
and you learn from experiences of others. People who lived hundreds of years before you, thousands of years before you, and people who live with you. So you're getting the experiences of all time.
I think it's very important, Dr. Weil, to have a goal of reading as one of your goals in your life. And I remember when one of the Islamic preachers who has visited us in Oman, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he says that I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant me the health to read the volumes that I have in my library. He has almost 1,800 volumes of books in his library, and he said, I just wish if I can read them before I die. And having these type of goals, Dr. Weil, elevates you as a human being.
Yes.
And increases in your value in life.
Exactly, and people really and who understand the joy of reading. Stephen King says books are uniquely portable magic. Yeah, so they are portable magic. It has a magical effect on people, as you said. It just elevates you. It is something that we really need to focus in our journey with our children and ourselves as well. For that matter,
I remember attending a course for parenting here in Muscat.
Yes.
And it was conducted by a Malaysian couple, and they were talking about their 11-year-old boy who had a problem. He had difficulty of learning, or I think he could not go and mix with other children, so he had to be at home for 1 year. And they said they encouraged their child to read, and he read 480 books in that year.
MashaAllah.
And when he was ready, prepared to go back to school, he was far more advanced than the other children. And they also encouraged him to start his own business during that year. And he started making a special recipe of cookies. And they were sold all over the country. And he made a lot of money.
MashaAllah.
So I think these type of things that encourage our children, it plays a big role when the parents are standing beside their children and supporting them and guiding them as well.
Yeah. One of the great scientists, Albert Einstein, he said reading after a certain age diverts the mind too much from its creative pursuits. any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into the lazy habits of thinking. So that's another way of looking at reading. You mentioned a boy who read 480 books, and you have Albert Einstein, who, on the contrary, he likes less reading and more thinking. Do we have a call?
Yes, we have a call.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Wael, how are you? And Hatem, how are you doing?
Fine, alhamdulillah. How are
Alhamdulillah,
you?
alhamdulillah. Family to the rescue. Dr. Lamia Al-Hajj.
So I just wanted to share my experience with my two kids, and my experience actually in living 4 years in London.
Okay.
Compared to when I came back to Oman. So I've got a 6-year-old boy and I've got a 2.5-year-old boy, and alhamdulillah, they've grown to love books. And I think what really helped at the beginning is that they started their life in the UK, in London specifically, when I was doing my studies.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the UK in general is that they've got a lot of local libraries at every corner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I miss
So
those
we
days
made
as
it-
well.
Yeah, we miss that, don't you? Don't you miss that one?
I do. My child used to come back from nursery every week with seven new books every week.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
Exactly. The good news is that some of the schools in Oman actually do have the same system, and I don't mean to promote any specific school right now, but the schools that my kids go to, they have the same system whereby every day they're given 1 or 2 books depending on their age and their grade. And my son, who is 5.5, has already read 150 books.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
So we do have that system, and the nice thing about that is that they encourage the parents to read with the child.
Yes.
So there's this parent-child interaction, which is also strengthens the bond
Absolutely.
in the family.
Yes.
And I actually look forward to our bedtime story time, whether it's reading it from a book or telling an imaginary story and then making him relate the story to life. So this all increases the bond between the parent, whether the mom or the dad, with the child.
Great.
Another point is that we do have some places in Oman, like Kitabi Jalisi in
Yes.
Areba, so there's some efforts. However, not all of these are free. It would be nice to see more of the local libraries that are free of charge to encourage more parents to go on daily basis or at least weekly basis with their children.
I'm aware that there is a public library, especially for
Alhamdulillah, I
children.
thought you were saying a pub.
No, a public library for children, and it's behind the Children's Museum. It's still
Is it a
being
new
built.
one?
Yes. It's
not opened yet.
It's not open yet, but that is one great addition to the nation and a great gift to the nation. Although I have one reservation, is that it's too far from where people actually live. So you need to actually make an effort to go there. I'm more in favor of having libraries within neighborhoods, so people could walk and don't need to have someone who can actually drive to take you there.
Yeah. And also to encourage our children, I think it's very, very important that the child has their own library in their house.
Yes.
And to get the child to select their own books. I mean, obviously, we have to monitor the kind of books that children grab. So what I do is normally when I go to the bookstore, I would scan really quickly the book, pretending like, I'm not checking it out, but I'm actually just checking out the contents really quickly. And then if I like it, I'll be like, oh, Talal, do you want to check out this book? What do you think of this book? And then make him have the choice whether to buy it or not, so that at the end of the day, he chose his own book, so that he's more excited to read it and looks forward to reading that book.
Yeah. No, that's great. We also had the story of, or the experience of Yahya Rawahi, who has one great library in his house, and then he started also creating little libraries for each individual child, so they could have a sense of ownership as well.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Lamia Al-Hajj, for calling us and for sharing your experience. It's an honor to have you in the show with us.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I think, Dr. Wael, we have many libraries in Oman, especially in the interior. We have a lot of libraries, but they're not dedicated to children. They are for
I've just
adults.
received a message from a friend of mine who says, please talk about the lack of public libraries in the interior. There are lack of public libraries.
Why am I saying this? I visited the Ministry of Heritage, and I spoke to the person in charge of libraries, and they told us that there is more than 200 libraries in Oman, and in different areas. But the thing most of the time is that these libraries are opened and then they are not maintained, and then there is no support for them, and they tend to close.
I think you
And
don't market
also,
it.
they are not specialized for children.
Yes.
They are for people who are university students who want to do research, or the school students who wants to go and study in a quiet place, you know.
I think, Hatem, the libraries that they're referring to are more like book stores. It's a it's a warehouse for books.
Yes.
Yeah. It's where you just pile up books, and there is no really a sense of environment of reading in those places. I don't think we should blame the society all the time that they don't read it. When we create a library, you need a whole type of amenities to go with it to create an atmosphere suitable for reading, even furniture suitable for people to sit there for hours and just read. Yeah, you can't buy any old plastic chair and expect people to sit there for hours.
Yeah.
Make the place comfortable for them to read.
And make it creative.
Be creative in the way you create your books. I'm going to read something that has been written about books that I really liked by Barbara Tuchman. She said, "Books are the carriers of civilization. Without books, history is silent. Literature, dumb. Science, crippled. Thought and speculation at a standstill. They are engines of change, windows on the world, lighthouses erected in the sea of time." I really like that.
Very powerful.
Very, very, very powerful. We mentioned earlier, before the break, that there are many means of learning, and reading is just one of them. However, we would like to see what are the other competition. What sort of competition does a book have? Yeah, the most obvious one would be TV. People might say, why should I actually bother and buy books when I can sit on a couch, flip on channels, watch National Geographic, Discovery Channel, History, yeah, and I would learn a lot of things just by watching TV.
Learn and be entertained as well.
So is that your opinion as well? Is it a better way of learning, do you think?
Before being learning, it's considered to be an entertainment tool.
Is.
So, yes. and normally as a human being, when you are entertained in something, you don't get bored, and you'll spend more hours in that thing. So, for example, if you have a child and you give it a book to read for 2 hours, or to watch TV for 2 hours, which one of them do you think will get bored first? Reading a book or watching TV?
Well, it depends on the person, really. People could sit for hours. There are people whom I know who could sit easily for 12 hours reading non-stop.
Yeah, but that goes through training, Dr. Wal. And it starts from an early stage.
TV, people would be very bored with TV as well. Could be very bored with TV.
I'm yet to meet a person who is.
Well, we are in a society. I agree with you. We are in a society where books are not yet respected that much, and the passion for books are not that big. However, through this show, we need to raise the awareness of that. And I would like to talk after this call about TV versus books.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, sister?
I'm fine, thank you. This is Ahlam al-Azkari.
Assalamu alaikum, Ahlam. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much for the wonderful program. Although sometimes we have limitation in times that we can follow the whole program while we are driving back from the work.
Well,
so,
you don't have to stay at work all that time, and we will give you time off work, okay? And take it from me. Just take time off work, and we'll talk to the boss.
Yeah, but the thing is, once you're back home, you want to switch on the radio, you're surrounded with the kids.
Okay, you can listen to it together.
It makes it even difficult sometimes.
If they're not old enough to fast, shove a sweet in every mouth.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't heard the beginning of the program, but I was following for the last 45 minutes. Yeah, I'm just referring to what Dr. Lamia Al-Haj was saying about sharing her experience while she was in the UK. You know, I just recall when we were kids at school, I'm talking about beginning of 80s, where the idea of having a library in the schools was initiated. I remember that me as a kid, I was so excited about it. But at the end, it was just an idea that having a library, and but no timings actually for us to go and into this library. It was just like a decoration that every school is having a library.
Yeah.
But whether this library is really activated and the students are allowed to go into the library, it was not the case. So I believe that the schools, they play a great role in this. It's not that we just have a library while the students are not allowed even in the break time to go into the library because they might mess up the library.
Yeah.
Because the person who is in charge of the library, the most important is the library should look clean and neat for any visitors from outside.
Yeah.
But whether these libraries are really effective and activated, where the students can go and read books, and there's like a motivation that whoever reads the book could be encouraged with a gift, or there will be like competition.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it was not the case. So I would really emphasize in this that the importance of reading from home and as well school. It's not just encouraging students to read their school books, but in the school it should be an hour for the library as well.
Yeah, every day, 1 hour in the library.
Yeah, it's not daily, at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Twice a week we should have an hour that the students are encouraged to go into the library. And again, the library, as you are just discussing, that the library should be attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the young generation.
Yes.
In the young age. And I don't. Unfortunately, my kids are in the private schools, but I don't know in the public schools currently how it is with the libraries.
There are libraries. There are libraries, and they haven't moved a lot from the 80s. I'm afraid to say, because they're still not allowed to go there during breaks. And if they, for example, my child, for example, didn't go to the music class, so we requested that why can't he just be in the library? Yeah, they said no, you can't go to the library. So it's a shame that the mentality is still there since the 1980s until today. Although libraries have been improved by adding PCs, computers, but at the same time they can't use them.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's just a decoration. So this is a message we would like to take forward to the government and the Ministry of Education to improve upon the facilities that are actually already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for your call, Ahlam.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Wael, do you know, have you noticed something that in the West or in other countries, a child, the first day that they go to school to register, you register your child in a school, the first thing they are given is the library card.
Yes.
But I don't remember here when we were younger, and even now maybe, having the system of the library card.
Because we don't have libraries. What will you do with the library card?
No, you just said we have libraries in public schools, but can you go any time and just borrow books? This is the thing. No?
No.
Okay.
No, see, the library card would be like the Kidzania card that you get with a false HSBC card that has no money in it. Okay. Before the call, we were talking about TV versus books. Okay. And here, I would like to make a case for books versus TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you win the case.
Yes, I will win the case. Books are always winners, and TV are always losers. Television, they tend to give you programs, very short programs, and they break it into even smaller periods of time.
Yeah.
And every 5 minutes or 8 minutes, they would break for an advert. So even if you're watching an educational program, the attention span is only for 8 minutes. It targets only 8 minutes of your time. And then it will give you an obstacle, or let's say not an obstacle, a distraction.
Can I act as a opposition?
Okay.
I am not in favor of TV, but because of the sake of argument. Well, I don't agree with you, because most of the dedicated educational programs, they don't have breaks, commercial breaks in the middle.
How do they make money then?
They make because you have a wide span of programs during TV, And if you notice lately also, a lot of people who are watching, the audience who are watching the TV, they get irritated by too much commercials. And if you notice now, the TV programs, they have less commercials, not as it used to be. Even if you're watching a movie, for example, you'll have like 6 or 7 breaks. But nowadays they have it continuously, and they have the break either in the beginning or the end.
It's
so
maybe very few channels had them.
And when we talk about TV, and you're talking about also other means that work with the TV, like DVDs or flash memories that you can plug in the. So these won't have commercial. So the argument of the commercial.
No. When we talk about people watching TV, the majority of TV watched is via satellite. It's not via USBs or recorded TV. Yeah, the portion of TV watched by people is via satellite TV, live TV, or recorded or received via a feed from the satellite.
Yeah,
that is the TV that people watch and children watch.
Yeah,
and still, even children's programs, they are interrupted from time to time with commercials. With a book, you can continue reading for 2 hours. It helps you because there is no program in TV for continuous 2 hours.
Yeah, but why do you need a program which is continuous for 2 hours?
Because you need to train your brain for an attention span, a very long attention span. Yeah, with very short attention span, you can't focus. You today would go to the khutbah, Friday khutbah.
Yes.
If the leader, the imam, speaks for over 15 minutes, you lose concentration. The majority of people will just lose concentration because they are used to very short span.
It's not. Let me argue with you. It's not because of the time span. It's because of the quality of the speech.
Even
because
the
many mosques where you go, you have an imam who is really enthusiastic, and he speaks about something which is realistic, and his style of giving, people are fully awake from the beginning to the end, and even after the prayers, they talk about it.
Assume if you have the best of imam.
Okay.
Yeah, assume it's the best of imam that you have.
Yeah.
But people are not programmed for long attention spans. Last year we talked about the information technology and how technology has changed.
Yeah.
And how technology changed the way we behave.
Okay.
Yeah. Into becoming people with less attention span. This is supported by research that the attention span of human being used to be about 12 minutes. And today, research has proven that the attention span is about 5 seconds. And it's about technology. It's about being a couch potato, yeah, and sitting in front of a TV. Using books, you won't be able to do that because you are so intimately with that book, sitting with the book in silence, and you've been able to train yourself to read more and seek and be with full attention all the time.
Okay, 1-0. Next point.
Okay, next point. For young children, TV is antisocial, but reading books is social. You'd say, how come? You just said that reading books for 2 hours in silence, how can that be social? I said for young children in front of the TV, it's totally antisocial. They even wouldn't want you to be there with them and speak a word. However, because they can't read yet, reading is a social event where you sit with a child. You sit with a child and their brothers and sisters. Read to them. It's an interactive thing.
I disagree with you because most of the time children love to watch cartoons or any programs with other children. When
is it a social thing? Will they discuss it?
No, but
I have 5 children.
But you see
when
them
they sit
you see them interacting because one of them will say I like this character and the other will say I like this character.
I don't know what type of children you've seen, but certainly the children I know, they will sit down silent, not even talking to each other, and this is something that is well documented and well observed as well. Yeah. So if you want to teach your children to be social, avoid spending too much in front of a TV. It's antisocial. Books at that very early age is a social event.
We're talking about two different things, Dr. Wal. You're talking about learning from the TV. which is a means of learning. We're not talking about
of course.
general programs. We're talking about means.
Even learning
so
from
if,
TV.
if the child is watching an educational program, which is a learning program, you don't want him to interact and, be disturbed by others. You want him to focus. You want him to focus.
Interaction is one of the best ways to learn with children.
1-1, Dr. Wael.
Yeah?
1-1.
No, you
Next
lost.
point.
I think you will just lose. Interaction, learning via interaction and using your senses, because not all children learn by listening or looking. They need to touch, they need to listen, they need to watch. Yeah? And TV does not give them that.
Okay, in books they are only touching. There is no listening. And
There
TV you
is-
have listening.
With TV, something else is that you have everything illustrated for you. And it stops you from using your imagination, or stops the child from using imagination.
Even the book, everything is illustrated.
No, not necessarily. You have a book.
Okay.
Okay, you have a book. You read to a child, and they draw an image in themselves. If you read it, even if it has illustrations, just read it. Ask the children, how do you imagine so and so? So if you mention a character who is evil, ask them, what is he dressing? What does he look like? If you mention a boy who is really good and nice, it really stimulates the imagination of children.
To start off, when you read the books for the children at an early stage, the books are colorful and with pictures, and they insist wanting to see the pictures in the book. They don't want, you wouldn't find a child very much interested for you only to read without him looking at the pictures.
You can't generalize, and you say you can't find a child who this. Maybe there is a child. Some children might do that, but you can't generalize. You can't find a child. Come on, I have 5 children.
2-1.
So I found them.
2-2. Next point.
Okay. The majority, we have to be realistic. The majority of TV watched by children is mindless. Yeah.
Okay.
We're talking about superheroes. Yeah. We're talking about things that are unrealistic.
Yeah, but
being fed to children.
We're talking about educational program. I think we have a call, Dr. Wael.
Okay.
We'll continue this debate later on. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Brother Hatem.
How are you? Alaikum salam. Who is this?
How are you?
This is Ahmed Al-Azizi.
Ahmed Al-Azizi. How are you, Ahmed?
I'm fine. Dr. Wael, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
I like your debate on TV versus books.
Thank you very much. And of course, you know that I won. And even if you continue until tomorrow,
I'm certainly in your side, man.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you.
Dr. Wael, it's not fair because he asked all his families and friends to call, and now they're saying that they're in favor of Dr. Wael. This is not democracy.
All of Oman is my family and friends.
Go ahead, Ahmed.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to add a couple of points. I mean, the topic is really important. And the fact that the first word revealed to the Prophet, peace be upon him, was Iqra, it just tells you the importance, how important is reading, and how important it is to raise the reading habit to our children.
Yes.
The point I would like to make that everything a child learns, it starts at home. It starts with the family. So it's really very important that the parent should read with the family. You cannot really expect your child to gain the reading habit while the father and mother, they don't read, So it's really very important that the parents should read with the family. And we need to make that reading material easily available and easily accessible to our children. So we need to make sure all the time that our children are surrounded by the books.
So don't lock your libraries.
Exactly. Don't lock your library. You can make the books available everywhere in the room, in his room, in the sitting room, everywhere. Just make it accessible. Even if he doesn't read, when he sees the books just are surrounded by him, one day he will just, go and start open the books, start read the books.
Yeah.
And the important point here is how to make use of technology, because our children nowadays are, they are very close to technologies, tablets, iPhones, iPads,
Yes.
So how we make use of technology in order to raise the reading habit. There are a lot of things we can do. There are a lot of apps that we can use to raise the reading habits, audiobooks, DVDs, for example. It's really important.
It's an issue for another debate, this one, books versus iPads.
Technologies, probably.
Yeah, and versus technology.
I don't want you to go to that debate. I am not saying that just use the technologies and don't use the books,
Yeah.
What I'm saying, how we use the technology, as a tool.
Yes.
To raise the reading habit.
Exactly. We have to do that. Brilliant points. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'as-salam.
Very, very valid points there, and he touched on a very important aspect, which is parenting and reading. Do not expect from children just to read if you don't read to them. Make it a habit in a household. Again, another very important aspect of reading is using technology to enhance the reading experience. Yeah. When we talk about television and imagination, there was a research done in Los Angeles in about 192 children, and the outcome of that research is that telling a story have stimulated the imagination and complex imagination within children more than actually showing them a TV show.
And actually, the pace of telling the story is sufficient enough for the child to observe and work their imagination. But on the TV, it's too fast.
There are many things we can talk about TV versus book, but this is one very important thing that I would like to emphasize before we go for a break, is that TV has a very, very bad negative effect on children's vital knowledge after the age of 10. There was a research done on 6,000 school children. It does help build a vocabulary. TV will help build a vocabulary for children, but until the age of 10. After the age of 10, they're saturated with the amount of vocabulary being used all the time in TV.
Yeah.
And after the age of 10, it just kills the knowledge base they have. And they need to seek their vocabulary and knowledge for somewhere else. So this is a research done on 6,000 children. And the conclusion was staggering. It just kills, innovative use of vocabulary. And this is something we could see today. Children, rather than they use one word to, let's say, describe a lot of things. People use the word wicked to describe something that is both good and bad.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they use the word good or nice, which are very, very general.
Yeah.
How is the food? Good. How is your trip? Good or nice. They lose the amount of vocabulary. Yeah. They lose the opportunity
and
to
the proper
learn,
use of vocabulary.
Yeah, more words.
And maybe within the journey they would pick up a few vocabulary which are unwanted as well.
But children who read, they pick up thousands of vocabulary, every month or every year. Yeah, we'll take a very short break and we'll come and talk about reading books versus technology. Okay, we'll take a very
The Modern Family.
Hi, I'm Tommy DePaola, and I want to talk to you today about the importance of reading. When I was a little boy, the most important part of my day was when my mother would go to the bookshelf, and we had a group of red-covered books, and she'd take one off the bookshelf. I'd jump in the big chair next to her. She'd open the book and read me a story. It was my highlight of the day when my mother read aloud to me, and she did it every day of my life as far back as I can remember. So, of course, it was very important for me to realize that these marks on the page were words that, when they were put together, were wonderful stories. I wanted to learn how to make those words into stories myself, so I knew that I had to get to school to learn how to read. Several years ago, I got a phone call early in the evening, and it was someone from a magazine, and they were calling authors and artists who do books for children and asking the question of why do you think reading is important? And it was you were supposed to sound pretty intellectual about it. So I knew it was going to go into print. I thought, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. And this is a very intricate sentence, but this is how I answered. I said, reading is important because if you can read, you can learn anything about everything and everything about anything. So if you think about that, just realize that you can pick up an encyclopedia like I did when I was a kid. And I started with A and I went all the way through to Z, and I read the encyclopedia every night and found out lots of things about lots of things. But then I could go to another book, and if I wanted to find out about stars, I could read chapters and chapters about stars. So I could find out anything about everything from the encyclopedia, and then everything about anything, in this case stars, by reading a book about stars. And that's why, to me, reading is so important, because we really have all the information right at our fingertips and at our eye tips. Now, you know what I'd like everybody to do, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a child? I'd like you to read to each other. You know, most of us know that mothers and fathers and teachers read to children. But hey, kids, why don't you read to your parents? Why don't you read to each other? Why don't you read to your teddy bear? So I think it's a really good idea if we all got used to reading to each other, because it's like a song. It's like singing to each other. You're telling each other a wonderful story by reading a wonderful book to each other. So why not do that, okay?
The Modern Family.
Dear listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I love that clip. I love the passion. You can sense the passion. This is one of the great writers, and he was talking about his own experience as a child when his mother was taking him to the library. And very good advice there for both parents and children. So, Hatim, do you read to your teddy bear?
No. Well, I don't have a teddy bear.
I'll buy you one.
I have a Barbie. Yeah. So I've noted 3 points from the short clip that we just heard, and the first one says, "Read loudly for your child."
Yes.
Okay, we have a call. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Who is this?
Abu Hamza is with you here.
MashaAllah, Abu Hamza.
I'd like to add a point to the program. It's very good, and it's just that sometimes we'll try to get on the line with you. The lines are busy. Is it possible to set up a Twitter account, so maybe we could send in tweeting messages?
We do.
Maybe to reach you guys?
We do have 2 Twitter accounts. You can either tweet me or tweet Dr. Wael as well.
On our personal accounts, yes.
We will respond, inshallah.
Oh, okay, because, when you advertise it, we just hear the phone number that you were saying normally.
That's true.
Yeah, so we don't get to hear the tweeting.
We didn't emphasize a lot. We agree on during the show, but you can always use Hatim's account, which is Hatim IIC, or you could use my account as well, Wael Harrasi, WAIL HARRASI, Wael Harrasi. Yeah. So sorry about that.
It's okay. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah.
So do you have any comments about today's show? Any ideas?
Well, at the moment, I just got off from duty, so I just caught it halfway through, so I haven't been able to follow the complete topic.
Oh, so you missed the big debate between me and Wael.
I know.
We'll have another one. Don't worry. We'll just have another one now, inshallah, where I will win. Don't worry. So if you want to support the winner, support me. Okay. Thank you, Abu Hamza.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, we'll go back to the points that were discussed in the short clip. The first one is read loudly for your child, which really works. I think many parents who use this type of technique, they
not only read loudly, dramatize.
Yeah, like you, what you do.
Yes, like what I do. Yes.
The other one, which I really loved, he said, read anything about everything and read everything about anything.
Yes.
This is a very powerful statement, and it's really, really relevant to today's topic.
Yes.
And I think I'll note it down and work on this as well.
Inshallah.
And the third one that he mentioned is read read to your parents or read to other kids. And in the case of Dr. Wael, he reads to his teddy bear.
I'll buy one as well, inshallah. Don't worry about that. Hatim, technology and reading. Yeah. Are you, if you were to given a choice between reading from an iPad or a Kindle, or read from a book, which one would you choose?
Honestly speaking, I'm a big fan of books, and I only read on my iPad when I travel.
Okay.
Because it's more convenient. You know, you have all the electronic books in your iPad, and then you don't need to take the other books, and okay, you can use your iPad. But at home, you know, just entering into the library and, you know, seeing all these books, these volumes with the colors, they're clean, they're well arranged, you know, it brings joy into my heart.
So it's more of a decoration thing.
If you like to say that, yeah.
Okay.
But to me,
reading,
I think I really enjoy more, you know, just the feel of the book, the smell of the book, and seeing the words, you know, and
you can see the words come on in a Kindle.
No, you know why? Because when you hold the iPad, for sure your son or daughter will fight for the iPad, you know, to get it. We want to play games and this and that. But when you have a book, nobody will fight for the book.
If you raise your children in a very good way, they will fight for the book as well. So I'm winning again here. So thank you for all my supporters out there. Thank you very much. I'll be signing autographs soon. In the debate between books versus iPads, I also like to feel a book, to smell a book, to open a book. However, we need to work with technology. It makes things easier. And here I would like to compare. If you allow me, just to compare books versus reading using technology, using a tablet or using a Kindle or whatever. One, reading e-books, electronic books, lightweight, enables you carrying many books at a time. So you could carry 1,000 books or 10,000 books in your pocket.
Yes.
Yeah. With books, normal hardcover books, it's difficult to carry, and many are bulky. It is easy to check for references, okay, in an electronic book. Easier to search, more difficult in a conventional book, in a paper book. No need to dispose old electronic books.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to dispose of paper books.
Yeah.
Bookmarking is very easy with electronic readers. Bookmarking is a little bit more tricky. Sometimes you might lose the bookmark.
Yes.
Yeah. Electronic books, it enables you switching from one book to other very easily, yeah, to suit your own mood. If you want to suit your mood using books, paper books, it's a little bit more difficult, especially when you are away from home and you're away from your library. Electronic books, it suits the hypermobile young generation, yeah, where the other type of books, the paper books, it mainly suits older generations. Cost is reduced in electronic books, whether paper books are still very expensive. Downloading online instantly. If you see a book, you can even buy a book online, an e-book online, and you will get it within 2-3 minutes. If you wait for a book to be delivered to your doorstep, or you actually go to the library, that might take you several days.
Yes.
Yeah. Or if you need to
buy it, you might not even find the book.
Sometimes it might take you even 1 month if you are going to buy it from abroad. Yeah.
You know, once I was looking for a book, and through scrolling the net, I found it in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove all the way to Dubai, and once I reached to the library, it said, "Sorry, it's sold."
Subhanallah. So you couldn't reserve the book. So
there
you go. There you go. One of the positive side of having an electronic book. No need for paper, so it's eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Where you need more trees to be chopped to write to have a paper book.
But there, I don't know if I agree with you, because when it comes to tablets and this, they use electricity, which is energy.
How much energy is used by a tablet running for 10 hours?
I think we use them throughout the day, Dr.
Yeah,
Weil.
but specifically for books.
And if you count, you're using a tablet, I'm using, and everybody else is using a tablet. So that is an increase in the consumption of energy.
We need to do a life cycle analysis.
But for books, one book will be printed. You're done with reading that book. You'll hand it over to someone else, so the other person will not have to have their own book.
But what about...
Or having them in the library, they can be shared with many people.
Look at it from a different angle. What about the books that have been printed but not sold? It's a waste of resource. With electronic books, you have them typed, and they're electronic.
Yeah.
So you don't have the issue of books sitting there idle and never being sold. And I'm sure there are millions of books there. So you could see a forest of trees have been chopped, and never being utilized. You still recycle them to just write other books.
I don't know. I'm a type of person that I like to possess things physically, to see them. And, having the electronic books on my iPad doesn't give me that feel that I own this book.
But,
but rather than...
it's easier to share, Hatem. If you have a book that you want to share with somebody,
an
electronic book, you would send it to them via email using your phone.
Yeah.
And even if they're 1,000 miles away from you, so it's easy to share knowledge. With a physical book, if you have one of their rare books, and you want to share it with somebody who is in need, and they're far away, it's almost impossible, because you wouldn't even want to send it via post.
I would say that one of the challenges, or one of the advantages that books have over the tablets is that you don't have everything electronically, because you have some of the old books, some of the ancient books, you can't find them, and it's very hard and very rare to find them.
I've seen several attempts of trying to photocopy these books, and then share them as PDF files. Okay, you can't search through them, but you can still the same what you get in a book, you will get there. Is getting the information. So there are some attempts of converting these books into PDF files.
The other thing is that can we trust the electronic books, Dr. Weil?
Why?
Everything is prescribed there. Do you know that what is there in the books is what is there physically in the real book?
See, nowadays, even the books that you have printed on paper, they are written electronically. So it is exactly the same book. It's just the mean that it has been conveyed to you. All the books are being written today electronically using Microsoft Word or any other typing process. So I don't think that would be a major issue. You could have misprints and in books as well. I don't think we should worry about the content itself. This was an issue a very long time ago. I remember I was with Sheikh Saeed Al-Qanubi, who was he specialized in hadith, and a lot of software that were meant to ease the way that you search through hadith, they actually referred to hadith that are, this book is this hadith mentioned in so and so book that was wrong. That's called takhrij al-ahadith. In the very early stages, there were mistakes done. But being a encyclopedia himself, he was able to notice that. Sheikh Saeed Al-Qanubi, Jazakallah khair. But nowadays, I think that is less of an issue. Books, they're very light. E-books, you can take them in airplanes, and
I think at the end of the day, Dr. Weil, we need to strike a balance. Because we need both of them, and we should not let go of the heritage of reading the physical books, and we should always have a library at home. Whether we have iPads or we don't have, then it's very essential for our children to start off with the books before even the tablets.
There are a lot of quotes mentioned, and I like to read these quotes about books. And we mentioned earlier how a reader lives 1,000 lives. That's a really good one. A good book can make an almost impossible existence, livable. There is no enjoying like reading. A lot of people like to read. I think what we need to, as a final message in today's show, is that teach your children to read, be creative, read loudly, start from a very early stage. There are books for infants, newborns, there are books for them. Use them. Let them familiarize themselves with a book. With every page they turn, they learn something new. And this is how you make them love reading books, not just by following orders. They will love it because they will discover something new. With a child that is reading a book that has no single word in them, they look at the pages that are full of colors. They are excited and by the colors. Start there, and then they will learn that these books and these pages hide secrets beneath them. So start from a very early stage. Read to your children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us, teach them Quran. And teaching them Quran is by reading. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that teach your children Quran. It is the first knowledge that needs to be taught, and you only teach them Quran by teaching them how to read it. To start with reading Quran every day, and then reading other books as well. Make a habit of reading bedtime stories. Let it be stories from the Quran. Start with stories from the Quran. Because you would be learning two things at the same time. Learning how to read, connecting with reading, and engaging with the Quran at the same time. And let it be the final thing that you do before you go to bed, is reading Quran.
And I think it's very, very important to teach our children the respect for the book. You need to hold the book with the respect, with any type of book.
Teach them how to
keep it in a nice, clean place, and to take care of the pages. Do not write on them, do not tear the pages, and do not put the book on the floor. These things show the value of the book
and the value of knowledge as well. Dear listeners, we come to the end of the show today, so thank you very much to all of those who called us and all those who listened to us today. Tomorrow we have a new show with a new guest, inshallah. It is staying connected with the Quran. How to stay connected, and how should we ponder upon the verses of the Quran. That's tomorrow's show. Until then, from me, Wa'il al-Harrasi and Hatim al-Abd salam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
The Modern Family. The Modern Family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family.
I remember